Start. Hello, church family.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello, community.
amen. Community is the name of the game. Common unity is how I translate community. So welcome to our Wednesday night service. It is Wednesday, November 10th. My name is Paul. I'll be your host tonight. We have a wonderful speaker tonight, Alena Hutchinson. She did our meditation earlier, and I'll be bringing her out in a little bit and sharing her with you. So what is Oasis? Our Wednesday night service, we call it the Oasis. It's a place where we can be together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. We present our Wednesday night services in a what we call a satsang style, with the intention that these gatherings be informal, intimate, and rich. We invite a speaker to speak for about 20 minutes, and we open it up for that informal, intimate, and rich discussion with all of us. A community sharing ideas from what we hear tonight. Our annual theme is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And our monthly theme for November is Breathe in the View. So if you're joining us for the first time, we welcome you. We're glad you came. You found us on our website. In the lower left-hand corner is a place where you can enter your email and sign up to get our newsletter, The Village News. And that will tell you everything that's coming in the forthcoming week, with all the links and passwords, we hope, and everything you need to stay in connection with us. Please note that if you're not already muted, your camera and your microphone, if you could do that, that would be helpful. It improves the transmission of the presentation tonight. And do stay tuned for special and important announcements at the end of our program tonight. We have some great things going on and some informative things you need to know about, and we'll be sharing those with you in a little later in the program. So it's time for our opening prayer, and Alena has asked her fellow practitioner, Zoe DeMuro. Everybody knows and loves Zoe. So Zoe, I'd like to turn it over to you right now for our opening prayer, if you will.
Thank you, Paul. All right, folks, let's take a breath together. And as we come to a place of stillness, a place of introspection, a place of awareness, we recognize our collective source, God, loving spirit, the one. And we recognize in that one the richness of divine abundance. And as each of us is a creation of the one, each of us is blessed with the gifts of love, of compassion, of wisdom, all qualities that flow in and as and through each one of us, enabling us to co-create a sacred space and time, enabling us to bring beauty from that love, to bring richness from the diversity and inclusion of all that exists, as all people, all things are all created from the one. How blessed this time together is as we experience the word, as our beloved Alena shares her wisdom, shares her experience, and brings us to a place of unity and community. In gratitude for this time, in gratitude for this village, in gratitude for all of the gifts that we are given, in gratitude for all the gifts that we share, I release my word to the love and to the law of God and say Amen, Ashe, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Zoe, for grounding us and pointing us in the right direction. for tonight through prayer. Our speaker tonight is Alena Hutchinson. Her topic is seeing beauty and feeling grace. Alena is a practitioner as well as a ministerial student. And boy, she's got a big plate of stuff going on, I'm sure, right now. So for her to take time and share with us on a Wednesday night some of her knowledge around this subject, it's truly a blessing. So Alena, thank you so much in advance for joining us tonight, and I turn the program over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. And so that was beautiful. As Paul said, the CSL theme for the month is Breathe in the View. It evokes the experience of having endured a difficult climb and arriving at the summit. It invites the question, what will our next journey be? We at OCSL can resonate with that experience, especially this week. As a community, we've experienced a difficult year. The process of grieving that we've been engaged in may not be over, but we are beginning to look forward. We are coming together as a community to co-create the next part of our journey. A couple of Fridays ago, we held a community meeting to begin the process of calling in our new minister. And then last weekend, 12 of your fellow OCSL members worked together to create a new sacred covenant. And that covenant was introduced to the congregation in last Sunday's service. If you participated in any of these gatherings, you may be able to sense a new energy building in our spiritual home, like a fresh breeze welcoming you to that summit after a hard climb. In my last talk in September, I suggested that in general terms, what we are seeking to create here is what Howard Thurman and Martin Luther King Jr. and others have referred to as the beloved community. When King envisioned the beloved community, he saw both a world order and a collection of individual communities based on love. In that September talk, I noted how the beloved community is also reflected in CSL's global vision of a world that works for everyone. And now that's one intention in our sacred covenant. The theme for this week is beauty and grace. So this talk is in essence a sort of a continuation of the talk I gave in September about the beloved community. But by the end, I hope you'll come away with an idea of how beauty and grace might be instrumental in creating that beloved community. The things we're doing now at OCSL as we call in our new minister can be seen as us taking a leap forward in our evolution toward a greater expression of the beloved community. Those of you who were here for the meditation heard a quote from Martin Luther King about that beloved community, that it requires a qualitative change in our souls. In Science of Mind, we know that our thoughts, beliefs, feelings shape our experiences in the material world. That in order to experience change, we have to be the change we want to see in the world. And the processes we've been engaged with recently to call in a new minister reflect that. In the community co-creation process, we're each given the opportunity to experience a clearing of any negative associations we may have had with ministers in the past, with each of us doing our own work to purge old feelings or beliefs that don't serve so that we can make room for something new. The next step was to create a new vision. Each of the statements that you'll see in that new minister covenant is the result of a process in which each member of our covenant team contributed an affirmation or a statement of intent for that topic, and then the group slowly built toward consensus, toward one statement of intention that each person could enthusiastically agree with and commit to. At the Sunday service, we invited each OCSL member to engage personally in helping to bring about that manifestation of the vision. And in these processes created by CSL for calling in a new member, the goal is collective, the vision is a community vision, but the work starts within, with each individual. So while all this has been going on over the last few months and continuing into February, your practitioners are engaging in a series of 5 visioning sessions for the community. For those of you who might not be familiar with visioning, this is a science of mind spiritual practice in which an individual or a group of individuals enters into a meditative place in order to become, in their words, a space of deep listening, available to hear Spirit's highest vision or idea for us. So instead of choosing our own goal or vision, we invite Spirit to work through us. Recognizing that we are in essence creating a brand new community at OCSL, the practitioners have been visioning on a series of questions that are based on a model for creating the beloved community. It was created by an award-winning author and organizational development leader, Peter Block. He wanted to create communities where the focus is not on problems, but possibilities. Communities that work for all. He believes that the health of communities is based on the quality of the relationships that exist among its members, and that that's a function of creating a sense of belonging. He uses the word belonging to mean three different separate things. First, he refers to being part of a community, that feeling of just being at home. Secondly, he uses belonging in the sense of being an owner, someone who will act as a creator and who sees community as something that's theirs to build and nurture. And third, he refers to belonging as a longing to be. He states that being is our capacity to find a deeper purpose in all that we do. It's our capacity to be present and discover our authenticity and our whole selves. This is often thought of as an individual capacity, he says, but it's also a community capacity. Community is the container within which our longing is to be fulfilled. I don't know about you, but I love the idea of us building community together as a way of creating a container in which each of us can discover our authenticity and whole selves. His method for building that community is to engage members in 5 conversations, each one prompted by a provocative question. And questions are used because he says questions are powerful. They inspire engagement. So what he's really doing is asking people to find the place within themselves where they can see possibilities, get excited, and commit to be both a creator and a nurturer of their community. So I'd like to give you a brief description of these conversations so you can just kind of understand the process. Let me pull this up real quick. So here we have the 5 conversations, and I'm going to get my other notes so I can tell you about them. We're starting down in the bottom right with possibility. So the possibility conversation, the question that provokes that conversation, is trying to get the participants to turn their attention away from problems that may exist in the community to what is possible.
Excuse me, Allie, are we supposed to be seeing,
Oh,
are we,
thank you. I guess I didn't press in the right place. Let me try that again. I'm glad you're on top of me there. Let's see if I can find share screen. There we go. And are you seeing it now?
yes.
Yay. All right. So we're starting down here with the possibility conversation. It's to get members to turn from problems to possibilities. And the tie to science of mind is obvious. As Reverend Elijah Christopher has said, and I quote him over and over again, we're not a philosophy of positivity, but of possibility. So an example, I'll give you an example of that question in a minute. The second conversation we move to is ownership. It asks individuals to act as if they're responsible for creating what exists in the world. So as good religious scientists, we probably might laugh at the phrase act as if, because that's basic to our philosophy, that we are in fact responsible for and blessed by everything that comes into our experience. So here the members might be asked a question like, is there a story I tell myself about OCSL that I would like to let go of to make room for something new? The third conversation he calls the Dissent Conversation. And I am going to put these some information about these in the chat later if anyone wants to copy that and take it home.
Allie, the right side of this is not showing on the screen, on my
Okay.
screen. Could you
I'm
change the view?
sure why.
You had it right earlier, but
Huh.
the 2 things on the far right don't show up on my screen.
Okay. I'm not sure how to do that, but I'll tell you what they are when we get there, I guess.
Okay.
So the Dissent Conversation, that one you can see, I think. So these questions ask about community members' doubts and reservations. Block notes that simply by acknowledging our doubts, taking back commitments we no longer want to fulfill, naming our unexpressed resentments, we create space for commitment. So a sample question might be, where might I be going into denial, rebellion, resignation, withdrawal? The fourth conversation is the commitment conversation. It asks participants to consider the commitment that they can make at this time, if any. It invites members to take ownership of a piece of the community's life, to tend their piece of the garden. A question here, for example, might be, what's the commitment I'm willing to make that constitutes a risk or a major shift for me? And then finally, over here, the one you can't read says gifts. Participants challenge themselves in this conversation to identify the gifts that they have not yet shared fully with the community. So an example of the question might be, what's the positive feedback I receive that still surprises me? So again, I'll put information about each of these 5 conversations and kind of some sample questions in the chat. And I'm going to, right now, since we're going to look at some of these others, I'm going to stop the share and do it again and see if we can have that come up differently. Let me move it over a little bit. See if that works. Yeah, it's still coming up the same way.
Okay, well, Allie, why don't you try to again, and I'll unspotlight you. Maybe the spotlight is what's causing the problem. Want to try that?
I'm having trouble hearing you. You're breaking up a little bit, but
Oh, why don't you try it again, and I'm going to unspotlight you,
okay.
and maybe that will
Okay.
help.
Let's see. Let's try this. Okay, so that's one view. I don't know what you guys can see this whole thing now?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
good.
And if
That works.
if I go to this, can you still see the whole thing? No. Yes?
Yes, that's
Oh,
good. That works.
great.
Yeah, I've unspotlighted you
All right, good.
as well.
We always figure these things out. So let's see. So as you probably know, our new minister covenant has space for each person to create their own personal intentions for the new minister. And since it doesn't hurt for us to all be working together kind of in a synergistic way, I'm going to also invite you to spend some time considering the first question that the practitioners visioned on when we did this possibility conversation. Again, this will be in the chat. The question is, what's the declaration of possibility that Spirit is calling me to engage with, or calling me to make, that has the power to transform the center and inspire me personally? What is the declaration of possibility that Spirit's calling me to make that has the power to transform the center and inspire me personally? And I'll invite you to engage with that in any way that you like, that seems productive. Consider it, ponder it, journal on it, take it into your meditation, vision on it, whatever calls to you. And just to give you a little bit of an idea, when the practitioners visioned on this, there's the question. When the practitioners visioned on this is what came up. When I told them, we shared it in the practitioners meeting, was, this is a community that I want to be a part of. I don't know about you. So these are some of the ways that we're working together at OCSL right now to call in a new minister, to create a prototype of the minister that we want. Over the next few months, the work will continue with each of us bringing that community vision into manifestation in any way we can. And the thing is that this work of creating a beloved community is not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing work. It's work that always begins on an individual level. And as I said in my last talk, living in community can be a challenge. Maybe it doesn't always quite look like this. I noted that on the website, the King website, the King Center makes clear that the beloved community is not some Pollyannish utopian la la land. King recognized that conflict was an inevitable part of the human experience. So managing conflict with love is an integral part of the beloved community. One faith leader, Ashley Peabody, has created a list of 25 qualities of the beloved community, which I'd like to share a few right here, if you can see that. I'm going to read them, and as I read them, I'd like you to listen in a particular way and ask yourself, what if these were not just nice abstract ideas, but the principles that I use in every encounter I have with another person at OCSL? The people I like and admire and get along with, the people who are different from me, the people I like and admire who are having at this moment a different idea from me about how the center ought to be run. Maybe the person who brushed off my suggestion, that lady who sits across the row and 3 rows back that I think is probably judging me about, I don't know, something, this stuff happens. So I'm going to read these statements. And again, the question is, what's the inner work I would have to do to manifest this vision? I offer radical hospitality to everyone, creating an inclusive family rather than an exclusive club. I recognize and affirm differences. I build increasing levels of trust in others and avoid fear of differences. I exhibit personal authenticity, true respect, and validation of others. I listen emotionally with my heart, offering empathy and compassion for others. I resolve conflicts peacefully, recognizing that peacefully doesn't always mean comfortably for everyone. I speak truth in love, always considering the ways to be compassionate with one another. And I'm going to stop the share right now because that will bring me back to my talk. And I will put these again in chat, so you can take them home with you if you would like. As Reverend Jeff used to say, the work is our work, and I would only add, and there's always work to do. We humans are social creatures. It's in relationships and in community that we become fully human. And I would argue that it's in spiritual community that we become fully spiritual. Like jewels polished as they tumble against each other. In community, we wear away our rough edges with each other. The theologian who originated the idea of the beloved community, Josiah Royce, emphasized that when members of a community deal with difficulty, conflict, slights, breaches of trust, not only by calling it out, but by doing their own inner work to heal any sense of injury or wounding, when they bring love to the situation, it not only heals the community, but leaves it stronger than it was before. When we think about this process of polishing our rough edges with each other, the concept that naturally comes up is forgiveness. In the co-creation process, we came together collectively to purge old wounds we may have had in our past experiences with ministers. And in the same way, if we're going to create the beloved community at OCSL, we have a need to continually let go of any sense of woundedness, however slight, in our interactions with each other. We talk a lot about forgiveness when we're on a spiritual path, but forgiveness tends to be confusing. Often when the subject comes up, I hear these questions. Am I saying that what that person did was okay? Or what if I don't feel like they deserve forgiveness? Am I supposed to just forget because I can't? Often we push away the idea of forgiveness because not forgiving seems like it serves a purpose. It seems to protect us from being harmed again in the future. When we study a little bit and achieve a deeper understanding of forgiveness, we realize several things. One, that our act of forgiveness is not for us. It's for us, not the other person. It's simply a refusal to harbor resentment. We decide not to hold a grudge, or as they say, not to take poison hoping it will kill the other person. We still get to protect ourselves if that's what's needed. We can be discerning in our interactions with the other person in the future. We can forgive and still set boundaries, or even change or end a relationship. We simply don't allow ourselves to carry around the weight of resentment and maybe all the assumptions that tend to come along with that. Second, our forgiveness really has nothing at all to do with the other person. Our forgiveness doesn't relieve them of any responsibility. If someone has actually done something to harm someone else, they have to come to peace with that by doing their own work. We can't do it for them. And finally, when we're part of a community, when we forgive, when we let go of some slight or harm we have suffered in the community, perceived or real, we've actually served everyone by lifting the consciousness of the entire community. So what I would really like to do this evening is take this deeper understanding of forgiveness one step further. I would like to see us abandon that whole concept of forgiveness and the word. It really doesn't fit with our tradition, does it? Forgiveness elicits images of sin and redemption. And Ernest Holm tells us that there is no sin in science of mind. There is nothing we need forgiveness for. There is nothing God forgives us for. And if God doesn't need to forgive us, why should we talk about forgiving each other? And here's where our theme comes in. Instead of needing to forgive, maybe what we need to do in order to let go and make room for something new, maybe even something surprising and delightfully new, is to, is to be willing to see beauty and receive grace. What we learned in the talk I gave in September is that in moments of rare beauty that inspire awe in us, those moments have the power to shift our awareness outside of ourselves into a state of interconnectedness. In that place, we actually experience more generosity, more compassion, more pronounced feelings of love and oneness with others. Science confirms this. Even the ancient Greeks knew this. They believed that achieving enlightenment or alignment with spirit, what they call being, was a result of a process that involved just appreciating beauty in all its forms, physical, mental, emotional, and finally spiritual. When we feel our rough edges being jostled in community, can we feel the annoyance and at the same time appreciate the beauty of the situation, the beauty in the other person, the beauty in the way we humans insist on loving and connecting, no matter how painful it is sometimes. The beauty of a community that may challenge us at times, but ultimately provides a safe container in which all our human quirks and vulnerabilities can be celebrated and transformed. A container in which each of us can discover our authenticity and our whole selves. And more importantly, can we remember the beauty that we are? That there is in us that spiritual essence that is our true being, that can never be hurt or harmed or diminished in any way. In his book, The Four Agreements, Miguel Ruiz reminds us that when we remember who we are, we will not take what others do personally. And here's the promise he makes that I find so inspiring. If you don't take things personally, he says, you can travel around the world with your heart completely open, and no one can hurt you. You can say, I love you without fear of being ridiculed or rejected. You can ask for what you need. You can say yes, or you can say no without guilt or self-judgment. You can choose to follow your heart always. And then you could be in the middle of hell and still experience inner peace and happiness. Easier said than done, you might say. And that's where grace comes in. Max Lucado says that grace is the voice that calls us to change and then gives us the power to pull it off. The thing we have to remember is that grace is always there. It's not something we have to seek or wait for. In How to Speak the Science of Mind, Dennis Merritt Jones says that grace is the givingness of spirit to its creation. And as Emma Curtis Hopkins and Ernest Holmes and all the other luminaries in science of mind teach us, God has already given us everything. It is simply for us to be willing to receive. Or as that master teacher said, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in. A while back, I was in meditation or struggling with the question of how to reconcile knowing spiritual truth on the other hand, while on the other hand, having this crazy human experience we're having. The image that came to me was of the way our visioning, our actual physical vision works. Our eyes don't see one thing. Each one sees something slightly different. Each sends its own image to our brain, which synthesizes them into one image. So we can close one eye or the other to see each of those images. In that same way, the reality of the human experience with all its pain, sorrows, even encounters with evil, and the reality of spiritual truth are both contained in every circumstance we encounter. It's for us in difficult moments to be willing to pause, to remember, to take a breath, and to see what's before us with real clarity, to see it both with our human eyes and with our spiritual eyes. The beloved community already exists within our hearts. It's waiting for us to manifest it in our daily experience, waiting for us to be willing to see beauty and receive grace. So now, why don't we take a minute and just rest in the silence and let our thoughts settle. And in 1 minute or so, we'll open this up to some discussion about your thoughts about the beloved community, your thoughts about our community, about the possibilities you see for us here, whatever's coming up for you in this moment. Alrighty. So, any thoughts anybody might have?
If you have something you'd like to share, you can turn on your camera and your microphone. You can raise your hand like so, or you could use turn your
Judith,
camera and mic on and use the reaction button at the bottom to raise your hand as well.
hi Judith, go ahead.
Okay. Um, I have to, my voice is a little off from a canker sore. I loved everything that you said. I am so grateful that you are speaking today and that I got to hear you. And everything made total sense. And I'm having a little challenge with the idea of that of not needing to forgive. So I guess I have to chew on that for a while. Because I feel that I have gone through processes with people that I felt that I needed to forgive, and I have forgiven them, and it felt like a rich and righteous process. So But everything else, I can't wait till it gets posted and I can listen to it again.
And we may just be talking about a difference in words more than anything else. You know, I think of
But yeah,
that forgiveness, if you are actually seeing the beauty in the other person, if you're seeing the beauty in the fact that they're reflecting back something to you that you need to, you know, your own work, that they're a mirror, there's a beauty in that whole thing that I think almost naturally leads to forgiveness,
okay.
if that helps. That's
Yeah,
just,
yeah, uh-huh. It does. All right.
Kirsten, go ahead. And then
Thank
Maureen, you're
you.
next.
Thank you. When you were talking, you mentioned knocking at the door and seeing if somebody would open. And what came to me was that I am the most at home since I was a small child, camping, being in the wilderness, hiking, you know, whatever. And I envisioned no doors, but just you can be in the distance, but then be open to just coming closer and closer. And then I recalled one of my favorite books, The Little Prince, where I think it was the fox that came every day at the same time. And then the other person would begin to anticipate the fox coming and look forward to that. And just opening in time and with love and, you know, walking with an open heart, that then all the beautiful things happen, but without doors. And it can happen any which way, but that's what came to me.
well, it's that paradox of the door is like, it's always, God's grace is always there, and we just have to be open to receiving it. So it's there,
Oh,
and there's a door, and there's not a door you know, at the same
right.
time.
Or the door can always be open too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that Maureen that was next?
Yeah, Maureen, yeah. Go ahead. Unmute your, yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
great talk. Wow.
Thank you.
I was in the co-creative process and fortunate to be in that co-creative process. And the way you described it was yes, that was in the beginning. It was really nice to hear it from that perspective so that it sticks in my mind more so that I can utilize it in life, because it is a great tool. And what I really liked about your talk about the forgiveness and kind of going to a higher perspective of it, right? And to live there's different and I don't remember the name of it, but it's the different kingdoms or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I still am learning, but that's kind of goes into what you're talking about.
Yeah, the idea that first kingdom, you feel things are done to you. As you move along, you start seeing, as opposed to seeing one person who you may have slighted you or hurt your feelings doing something to you, you see them as kind of that mirror.
Yeah, and it is a process, and I think Judith did mention that it is kind of like a process that we go through.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was just really uplifting, I guess you would say, to realize that there is even more possibility. So, and your talk really talked about it. So thanks.
With the idea that even the bad stuff becomes a gift. Because it's an opportunity to
Yes.
evolve.
Oh.
So who else? Anybody?
Robert, you got your camera on. Did you want to say something?
He's just chilling back.
Yeah, no, I just had my camera on, so
Okay, that's fine.
because
That's
so
fine.
we could see each other.
Yeah, that's okay.
but
That's
I did. I mean, since I'm talking, I really did like that model. And did you say that that's what the practitioners are doing in 5 different sessions, or using that model of the questions?
Yeah, the visioning asks, you ask a question of spirit. So what we did was you kind of did a mashup of the visioning process with Block's community building, where he just gets people in a room and asks these questions and has a discussion. So for the visioning, we created questions that are based on his 5 conversations, right?
I
So
just found it to be a very interesting and useful model. I'm wondering that might be something worth expanding to the larger community, rather than just keeping it in the practitioners or that kind of thing. So anyway,
yeah, I love the provocative question, that because he says it gets people engaged.
yeah,
They're not just sitting back waiting for the community to do something. They're like in it, creating something.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Judith.
I just want to be a little bit silly. You said, when is a door not a door? And the answer is when it's ajar.
The evening would not have been complete without that.
Well, if we're gonna be talking about doors, it also, as you were having the conversation with Sherston, it reminded me. I wish I could remember the whole several lines, but there's a Rumi poem that ends with him saying something like, I was like knocking on this door, and then I found out I was knocking from the inside.
Wow.
Ooh, there you go.
Hmm.
We will expect it to be recited at the next.
Yeah, I have to dig around and find it.
Oh.
Who else? Yeah, I see Sabrina has her hand up. Sabrina.
Oh, Sabrina. Yeah.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you want to go ahead and ask your question or comment?
Yeah. Sorry, I've been using all these different headsets. I don't know which one's working at the moment. I really, first of all, I loved your talk. Thank you so much. And I appreciate the approach of, instead of focusing on the problem, beginning with the belonging and inclusion, because we spend so much time in the problem and the solution's right there. And what I really love about Science of Mind is it teaches living in the solution.
Yeah.
And that has been the greatest gift that I've gotten from this community. And so hearing that this is the approach we're taking as we, look for a new minister to pastor, and nurture and grow this community. And that's the mindset that's going behind or driving this search. I really appreciate you breaking it down in the way that you did, because it makes me smile. It makes me feel included, and that's that inclusion and belonging and action. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And, looking at instead of the problem, what's the beautiful thing that could be in its place?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
I saw Judith.
Judith Robert.
Yes, hi. Alena, I wondered if you could repeat what you said about forgiveness, because I didn't quite get it. And when I heard it, it didn't quite resonate with me, but now I don't remember exactly what you said.
So the idea is that, we talk about forgiveness, but in Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes says there's no such thing as sin, there's nothing to forgive, and so the question was, why are we using the word forgive? And the idea that instead of forgiving, maybe we just try to see the beauty, that forgiveness would almost follow from that. I'll give you, I talked about this in my last talk. There was a person that I was having a little bit of a reaction to, like we sometimes do, a person I know. This was like from a few years ago. And all I did every time I saw this person was just ask to see something different. And what started coming up was every time I did that, I noticed some other good quality in them. So it's like, pretty soon after, doing that and looking for the beauty, the other stuff somehow we may have to do some work with ourselves because it may bring up old things but it's not so much forgiving, like claiming that they actually did do something wrong, that they actually have the power to hurt us. Because on a spiritual level, we can't be hurt, we can't be harmed. On a spiritual level, they can't have done anything to us. It's just our work to be done. And so we're working within ourselves. And if we could see the beauty in them, in the situation, in the opportunity they've given us to do our own work, that seems like a better concept to me than using the word forgiveness.
Uh-huh.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I'm being reminded of the Ho Oponopono practice, which is it's one of forgiveness, but it's in a different way. It's a really beautiful practice, and it seems to be a really effective one. But it's internal work. I mean, you've been through that, right?
I haven't. So
Oh,
I'm waiting for your workshop or your talk or
yeah, Constance has led it a few times. It's a really beautiful, beautiful practice. Anyway, thank you. Yeah, that clarifies it a little bit for me. I don't, relate to sin. I don't associate forgiveness with sin at all. So that was the part I didn't resonate with. Like, well, how would sin relate to forgiveness? But anyway, I'll just go back and listen to the talk again. And I like the PowerPoint, and all the things you said were really beautiful. And I want to go back and see them again, but they'll be in the recording, right?
they should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
I found the Rumi poem. You ready?
Go.
Oh, no, I have to go back and find it now. Okay. It's one of his quatrains. It says, I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. It opens. I've been knocking from the inside.
Great.
Right.
Good. Jerry, Reverend Jerry?
Yes. Alena, first of all, thank you for your lovely talk and sharing your what you've been sharing with the practitioners. I think it's very powerful, and I do agree with Robert that it has a place in our community. Overall, it's a wonderful visioning practice. And the one thing, as you were speaking, I was doing some homework, and I found a piece out of from Science of Mind from Ernest Holmes, and I love it because it says, in a correct use of science of mind, we need to know that God holds nothing against anyone, and that divine forgiveness is a necessary complement to divine givingness. Any sense of guilt we have, any burden of condemnation we entertain, or any mental state that weighs us down hinders us from more fully experiencing the nature of spiritual reality.
Nice.
So I just kind of like that. Kind of complements what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sort of uses the word forgiveness and at the same time says there's nothing to forgive.
Right. And that it's the givingness, which I love. So yeah.
So that giving of being willing to see the beauty in someone else. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Well, it's like the forgiving. That's what it is. We're forgiving. Yeah. Ernest said that somewhere. Somewhere like that.
So we're coming up to our time for shifting to something else, unless someone else has something pressing. And I will just say one thing, which is I was going to put all this stuff in chat and it wasn't working, but while Paul does announcements, maybe I'll see if I can get it in there.
What a perfect segue. Everything is there's no forgiveness necessary. It's in divine order, right?
Yes.
There you go. Oh, bless you, Alena. Thank you so much. Everybody, let's thank her in our way that she can see through clapping or something like that. Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Alena. You have a whole group of devoted fans here tonight.
Yay.
As always, we appreciate you very, very much.
Thank you.
So we do have some announcements that I'd like to go into with Peter right now, helping me out on the PowerPoint. As Alena clearly demonstrated, we have a lot of new and interesting things going on at the center. Around our transitioning into receiving a new spiritual leadership minister or ministers. So I'm excited to see where that's going to lead us. I'm trusting and knowing that this co-creation process, it worked for us to receive our beloved Reverend Jeff. As Reverend Jerry said, it'll work to show us our greatest yet to be. So the optimism is clearly driven by what Alena talked about in the processes that we're using. So with that in mind, happy announcements. On Sunday, November 14th, Reverend D. Jacqueline Edwards will be speaking on Honor the Mystery, Embrace the Change. We're at a time in our village where living in the mystery is what we're doing, so we embrace it. So join us physically and in person in the sanctuary, or watch the service on live stream or YouTube this Sunday. Service starts at 10:30. Please know that if you'll be joining us on Sunday in person, everyone is required to wear a mask inside all of our buildings, and we will be practicing social distancing. Next Wednesday, another avenue for our communing with one another is our Wednesday night service, just like tonight, and that will be November 17th. Dr. Reverend Eloise Oliver will be talking on celebrating the triumphant journey. Always wonderful. Meditation at 6:30 and the services at 7. And our Wednesday night services are going to continue in Zoom. The Board of Trustees is inviting you to an open forum on Friday, November 12th from 6 to 7 p.m. by Zoom. Reverend Jerry and the board will be sharing lots of great information about the new minister search, the premises, education, finances, and lots more. Come find out about all the happenings in our community. See you there. The Zoom link is on the home page of the website. This is new and hot off the press. We're looking for an assistant and vacation replacement for the administrative coordinator. That's Constance, everybody. This is a part-time volunteer position, approximately 3 hours per week. This intern position may work into a paid position when the administrative coordinator is on vacation. For more details about job requirements and responsibilities and how to apply, please contact Constance Chapman at constance@oaklandcsl.org or Reverend Jerry Carter, revjerry@oaklandcsl.org. It's never too late to pledge. Mail in your card or go online to fill out your pledge card. The link is on the homepage. And finally, in embracing this mystery, let's read the new minister covenant together. If you need a copy to read daily, you can download it from the homepage of the website. So every time we sing together or read together, it gets all crazy, and I embrace craziness. I should know. So with that in mind, let's see if we can take the spotlight off so we can see the whole screen. Alice, if you could unspotlight me, or Peter.
Like, they can't see the covenant if I do that.
If you unspotlight me, you won't be able to see the.
Well, if I stop sharing.
No, taking spotlight. Oh, let me,
We can see the PowerPoint.
We can see
So we
it
can
all.
see the whole thing.
now I can't see the whole thing. Okay, now I can see the whole thing. Okay. God,
Okay.
help me. Help me. Help me. Let's see. I have to go to full screen. There we go. Here we go. My new minister sacred covenant prayer. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This is my life now.
Yeah.
In knowing that I am one with this life that is God. I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Next slide, Peter. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to reveal spirit, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of God as wisdom. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by Spirit, for it is written, I am filled with divine wisdom. I allow divine mind to fill my mind now. Ayan Bansant. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister revealed before me as unity in the community. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself, for I am inspiring unity in diversity, embracing and nourishing our community. I am awakening the wisdom within. I am healing and expanding our community with the power of love. I am engaging the community in building a world that works for everyone. I am deepening family consciousness. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they are revealed in a way that illumines spirit and serves the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful God is gracious. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. Ooh. As we marinate on that, we sit in and hold and know that our highest and best is destined for us. Dr. Dan says, you cannot escape the good that the universe has intended for you. There is no escape. Give up. It's futile. You're going to receive the good. Dr. Dan and Lucian Baker kind of sound like each other. So with that in mind, it's offering time, and I ask that you hold your gift close to your heart. Reverend Jerry does this all the time, and I've kind of copied her on it. Hold that gift close to your heart, whatever it may be, time, treasure, or talent. It's all important. It's all valuable. It's all a contribution, something we give with tribute, with honor and integrity, to grow our center, both internally and to go out into the world to do great things. That's our prayer. So I'm grateful for your offering. I'm grateful for what you give in the doing. So as we say, this gift I give, I cannot see this whole thing. Why can't I see this? This gift I give, it should say, is God in action. It does good. work in the world and blesses creation.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for bailing me out. So how can you give? How can you donate to the center? It's really easy. We have 5 ways that you can do that. You can go to our website and there's a shot of it with the donate button for a credit card, or you can mail it in at the address listed there. You can also text it now, the new hip way to do it, 510-327-3431. And then finally, electronically, we have Zelle for those that know how to do Zelle, giving at Oakland CSL. And if you join us in person on Sunday at service, we have offering baskets that you can drop your offering in on the way out the door. So I know we're divinely blessed. I know that we have everything we need in the moment, and we have everything we need for next year and for the coming years. Our center is rich and abundant. There's no mystery at all. No mystery at all. We're divinely guided and we're divinely protected. So knowing that is true, I say thank you for being here, everyone, tonight. Alena, I'm going to let you close us out in prayer at this time. Thank you again, Alena. I also want to just take a quick second and thank the people behind the scenes. First of all, Reverend Jerry for being here tonight. Reverend Jerry, it's always a pleasure when you join us in person on Wednesdays. I love it when you're here. Makes me stay on my toes and be a good boy. Peter the Magnificent up in Portland joining us tonight, taking care of so much, the lead, the PowerPoint, keeping Paul in check on everything. So wonderful. Alice Herndon, our spotlighter, you're just the best. Luis is out there muting and carrying on and helping with stuff. And of course, we always have Constance in our back pocket. Constance, thank you for all that you do tonight to help the Wednesday night service to go on. And Alena, thank you for the meditation early in the evening. So now, Alena, if you would.
And I will just take a
close
moment
us
to
in
say
prayer.
I did get the stuff in the chat. So the 5 conversations, sample questions, and the qualities of the beloved community. So if you know how to save your chat, you can do that. And let's just take a deep breath and get settled within ourselves. There is only one presence, one power. There's one beingness that has created all that is, that has sprinkled the stars across the skies, that holds the planets in their orbits, that knows the spin of every atom in every particle in all of creation, that turns night into day and day into night. It is that essence that is infinite intelligence and wisdom. It is infinite love, joy, the peace that exists at the center, the very center of all there is, that can never be altered or diminished in any way. And as I know that that is who I am, I know that it is the essence of each person here on this call, each person who hears this prayer now, later, anywhere they are. We are each of us simply one point in time and space where God shows up as us, to have that one unique experience that Spirit can only have as us. We are blessed to have come together tonight in this sacred community, to see the beauty in it, to revel in it, to see the joy, to have at that safe place where each of us can find all of our authenticity, our highest and best expression. And as we leave here tonight, we take that sense of community and oneness that we felt here tonight, that lightness that we found, that was demonstrated with the jokes and the poems. We take it all into our world, knowing that every person we encounter will be touched by it. We are so, so grateful. I speak my word into the law, knowing that all of our intentions, through the givingness of God, through God's grace, have already been created and are there waiting for us. I speak my word into the law, I let go, I let God, and so it is. Amen.
And
And
so it
Ashe.
is.